Hello, everybody. My name is Joel Filderman, and welcome to the Dog Trainers Connection. I'm not a dog trainer, but these other people you see here are, and they have a number of years of experience in the dog training world and in the dog profession. And we get together and we discuss a topic, a question, come up with some ideas, some thoughts, sometimes some answers. And what I'd like to discuss today is, spring has sprung. The grass is growing, the leaves are turning green, the birds are chirping, and it's time for spring cleaning. So what my question to you as dog trainers today is this. If you opened up your dog trainer closet, all your knowledge that you have of dog training, everything that you've learned, what are you taking out of that closet and saying, I don't need this anymore, or what's this doing in there? It can be a tool, it can be a phrase, it can be an idea, it can be whatever you want. But what is it that you have had, that you've had that experience as a dog trainer, that you go, don't really need that anymore? And David, let's start with you today.
That's a tough one. I guess one of the things that I have done recently is not getting too much bogged down with typing up different evaluations and so forth for my clients. Mm-hmm. You know, I find that you start typing up a whole litany of the behavioral issues the dog has and so forth, and the treatment plan. A little bit's okay, but a little bit goes a long way. You do a whole long thing, and sometimes you find out, you know, it's just overwhelming for them. You know, they may not tell you what the reason is, but you can kind of guess. And, you know, oftentimes it's, you have one lesson, two lessons, and then they don't follow through. Maybe they feel it's too, more than they thought it was, or, all it is this little thing. They don't realize it's what it can escalate to. Let's say it's an aggression. And typically I work with mild aggression, but I explain to them that oftentimes it can escalate. It's not going to get much better. And I had a case not too long ago with this woman, and the dog would be reactive to anybody that approached her, being very protective, and more so with her than her daughter. And we had a few lessons and so forth. And I worked on some of that, and then I went to follow up with her. She still was interested in working with me, and she said, "Can we please change the appointment?" And I said, "Sure." And I gave her some dates and so forth. Never heard from her again. So, I find it's better, and I think it's easier for them if you just come with like one page, or maybe you if it's very detailed, maybe you can even send them to some YouTube videos or something like that, or some videos of yourself working with a dog if possible. Mm-hmm. And just keep it short and sweet. And I think it's more tangible that way too, because when it's overwhelming like that, they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm not going to get into this. It's just too much." But if you do a little at a time, I've found that it's more productive.
Is that what you learned, David? Is when you learned dog training, did you learn to do these detailed analysis?
Not too much, a little bit, but not for the most part. For the most part, I just kind of came with on my own, and actually Helen's been instrumental in that, and I think Helen, you tell me if I'm wrong. I just find it's you get bogged down in this, and it's too overwhelming for the client sometimes. I think it's.
Yeah, I agree. I've gone the same way you have. I started out giving them a detailed analysis and basically a behavior modification plan. I would draw a behavior modification plan and give them guidance on that, but it became too over. I think, they'd look at that and freak out.
Too much.
Yeah. So I've gone the same way as David, as taking, just a little bit at a time. And I feel it gets them a little further along in the process. But I don't know. Overall, I still think they kind of drop out after a while because they can't deal with the commitment.
Mm-hmm. So is there something else that you would add, Helen, that you would get rid of out of your closet?
Possibly taking those clients in the first place. I'm actually starting to reassess some of my services and possibly eliminate some things. Group classes.
Something in particular. Okay, go ahead.
Classes.
Uh-huh.
It's getting tougher and tougher. after all these years, after going to the vets over and over and giving them the position statement from the American Veterinary Society of Animal Behavior about puppy socialization, about starting classes early, every client that calls me with a puppy says they can't start until after the puppy's had all their shots, because that's what the vet told them. And it's getting worse. They're like saying you can't take the dog out at all. I had one client who the vet said, no, you can't take that dog outside. She can get sick and die. And she can get sick and you can catch it.
So vets are still saying that?
Around here they are. I don't know about other areas, but around here they are. So it's just really getting tougher and tougher to fill those puppy kindergartens. And by the time they get to 4 or 5 months and they want to join a group class, a lot of those dogs are not good in a group class. They're just, they can't handle it. They're past the point where they, can deal with a bunch of dogs. So that would be the thing I'm looking at as my group classes.
Okay. Jeff?
I mean, a lot of similar thoughts came into my head. Back in January, we had a forum on Out with the Old, In with the New kind of thing. So I don't know if that was along the same lines. So I'll try not to repeat myself from that, but some of those same thoughts came up. But I guess spring cleaning is the topic, right?
Yeah.
So
it's more what would you get rid of? What would you never use again?
We'll see where my head goes. So, well, the first thing that honestly that popped into my head when you said spring cleaning was I have my car is in the shop for service. So I took all my training stuff out in case I had an appointment. I had to use my wife's car. And I realized I have to clean my training bag out. So I literally did a spring cleaning in my dog training bag. And, ironically, when you have a dog training bag and you use all natural treats, if you don't clean that sucker out, you find out when you open your bag up and you see some larva in the treat bag. So, so I literally did a spring cleaning on, for my dog training bag. That is, and I'm usually better at that, but stuff happens. Because I do take my leashes and collars and stuff out periodically. I always inspect my leashes. Sometimes they get frayed and you don't realize it. So it's important for me to inspect my tools, specifically my leashes. That's just important for me. As far as what I would get rid of, I don't know. I mean, I think of my training toolbox, whether it's my knowledge or my experience or tools or protocols I've used in the past. And I don't know if I'm dating myself, but I have been around long enough to know that, for me anyway, other people may feel differently. Maybe I haven't needed a screwdriver in 15 years. But it'd be awfully good to have that screwdriver in the future if I needed it. Okay. So that's just for me. And again, I mean, I don't do as much aggression as I used to for a variety of reasons. And I'm not saying that I wouldn't work with a human aggressive dog in the future. I just haven't, in the past few years. So a lot of the things that I'm working, a lot of dogs I'm working with, I may not have the same approach, like that feral dog I'm working with, I mean, if I have a rambunctious, 18-month-old boxer, I might be a little different in my demeanor working with that dog than I would a feral dog, obviously. I might use a training tool on one dog that I may not use on another. And I know training tools are controversial, and I don't really care. And when I say training tools, I mean, I use star mark collars, if I gotta, work with a dog and get him walking in a somewhat manageable manner. I've used gentle leaders, no pull harnesses, whatever. I've used e-collars on deaf dogs. No, not to shock them, but the vibrate feature is helpful, especially in my yard. I have a large yard, so once my 50-foot long line is no longer useful because we're working in a further distance, I might use something like that. So, and I've worked with a handful of deaf dogs, so it's not like I would use an e-collar on another dog for the purpose of using an e-collar. And again, I'm not criticizing tools. I'm just saying that having tools at my disposal, having past experiences at my disposal, I don't know. Although I don't do things like I did back in the 90s, obviously from a training standpoint and teaching new behaviors, I'll leave my toolbox alone right now. I'll dust it off and inspect it when I need to, but I would never want to not be able to help a dog because I abandoned something that could be helpful, or worse, even worse, is rejected something that I've never tried before that could help.
Sure. Which
is probably the biggest shortcoming of many trainers. And I've been guilty of it myself. I'm not, placing blame anywhere. I've been guilty of closing my mind to something that could be helpful because I've never used it or implemented it before. That's probably the absolute worst thing I can do, is be able to help a dog, but choose not to because my mind is closed. That's all.
Okay. Steve?
I'm just thinking about services, more than tools. I used to do this package thing. It costs this much per session, but you can pay this much if you take this many, that kind of thing. So you give them a financial courtesy if they take X number of sessions. Well, I pulled that out of the closet, I'm done with that. It's like, I come out, I work, I get paid. There's no rule that says I can't come back if you need another visit, but I'm not planning on it. We'll see how it goes. So I don't know.
Now, is that because of that, Steve? Is that because you don't know whether you're going to be back, or is that because your time is valuable and therefore you want to get paid for your time, period? No special deals for all intents.
Well, in a way, I didn't mind giving the special deal, but I found that I was being taken advantage of when I would say I need to do X number of lessons within this amount of time. And I don't say every week. I realize that some folks just need a couple of weeks sometimes to get something done because life got in the way of their practicing and all that. So if let's make believe I was talking about 4 sessions, I would say you have to get it done between 8 and 10 weeks. That's a fair enough amount of time. Well, I had people pay for the lessons and do 2 or 3 of the 4, let's say, and then call me up 6 months later when it's not the same dog anymore. Well, it is the same dog, but behaviorally, it's a whole nother beast. And I'm not going there to teach it to stay. I'm going there and trying to save my own ass from getting bitten when I walk in. Right? And I'm like, that's all. And now that's on cheap money, right? Because I gave them that money break and all that. Well, that happened too many times, just too many times. It's a lot. We all know this, somebody calls, you call them back. Then they call you back at 8 o'clock at night. And then you wait till the next day into business hours and you call them back. And then they call you back at 9 o'clock at night, right? Until finally maybe they get that you're not going to call them back at 9 o'clock at night. And when you finally catch up with them, and you say, well, thanks for, hanging in, and, I'm glad we get a chance to speak. And they say, well, I couldn't talk to you during the day because I work. We all know that line, don't we? Because I work. And I have had to say, I try to be as polite as possible. I really do. I know how to play the diplomacy game. But when you start with that stuff, because I work, I'm like, wait a minute. What do you call what I do? I work too. I'm probably more available than you are. And if it's important to you, then we're going to speak within these hours because that's when I'm available. And after that, it's like, the sign says closed. I mean, unfortunately, too many dog trainers will pick up the phone at 8 and 9 and 9:30. Before 10 p.m., a lot of dog trainers are willing to schmooze because they have like bought that line. Oh, the client works. They can't talk to me. So I guess I got to talk to him now. And I'm like, I guess I'm not gonna. That's how it goes. It's like, it's a job, you know, it's a job. I mean, and I'm stopping my group classes, Helen, I'm done. You know, I can't do it anymore. I'm not getting the enrollment. I charge more than everybody else. I think maybe it's okay for me to do that. But I mean, there's too many options now for people to not spend a whole lot of money. And so, you know what? I'm taking out some of these things. So it's okay. I was available for a while to do it. If you took advantage of the class, then I'm glad it's all good for you. But moving forward, I can't work just to pay my rent, overhead money, unless it was a hobby, you know. Like I got all this music here, you know. I spend a crazy amount of money over the years on music stuff. It doesn't pay me. It's a hobby. I pay into it, but my profession has to pay out. You know, that's the way it goes. Otherwise, I guess I could do something else and make animals a hobby, but I sort of opted out of that like 40 years ago. So it is what it is, right? It is what it is. And so I'm taking out the services. You know what? I can come by, put my time in, teach you some things, work with the dog, happy to do it. And they say, well, when you coming back? I'm like, I don't know. You know, let's see when you call. You know, maybe you're going to be good from now on and you're going to send me a Christmas card, or maybe you're going to call me next week and say, yeah, you know, it's going pretty good. I could use another session and I'll come back. But that's the way it's got to go for me, because I can't make sense out of, you know, giving some sort of discount. I can't play that money game about my job. It just doesn't make sense. It just, you know, I can't make sense of it. And I may be less busy by behaving this way, but I'll be happier. And so we're in the dog business, folks. If we can't be happy, we're not doing something right. So this is how I'm sort of like, you know, I opened the closet and said, what has to go this spring? I'm getting rid of my overhead. I'm not ever going to offer up any more kind of package discount classes. You know, if you're old and you want a senior citizen discount, then you could go to the recreation center in town and get some classes over there, maybe, you know. Otherwise, I'm a senior citizen. Give me a couple of extra bucks. What could I say? You want me to pay you somehow? It's like, please. So that's it. I mean, you know, I'm not getting rid of any tools because, I mean, I need them. It's like Jeff said. I mean, you know, you dust them off, you oil them, whatever. I mean, I still use that Lexol stuff on my leashes, you know. I mean, I keep them nice. You know, I do that. I mean, if you have moldy food, you got to get rid of it, but the leashes you got to take care of. Yeah, so that's it. It's just it's a service swap right now.
Okay. And Bonnie?
I'm more thinking of spring cleaning for me in terms of running and founding Dog Trainers Connection. And for me, the spring cleaning is getting back to why we started Dog Trainers Connection in the first place, which was to bring trainers together, to talk, to learn from each other, to embrace that we all love dogs and we're in it for the good of dogs. And I really liked what Jeff said about, and that goes for me too, specifically with e-collars, to not condemn something or discount it just because you don't know how to use it or don't know enough about it. And fine to have your own personal opinions on things, on methods, on tools, but you really shouldn't put other people down about what they use, because they may know what they're doing and they might be really good dog trainers and know how to handle dogs and have good results. And so I really want to get back to what Dog Trainers Connection was, which was uniting trainers of all beliefs. And me personally not being afraid to step into areas that might that somebody who is just taking a side, one side or the other, that they say, oh, wow, why is Bonnie affiliating herself with that person and Dog Trainers Connection? Well, because I really feel that we need to have an open mind as trainers, and that's the way you learn, and to shut people out because they use a different modality or different tools just is not good. It's not good politically in this country. It's not good for us. It's not good for anybody. So that's my spring cleaning. And for me personally, in running Dog Trainers Connection, welcoming everybody.
Okay.
You know, and Bonnie, I mean, you know, and I know that I've talked to you and Joel about this historically, and I'm not sure how long we've known each other, you know, but, you know, I've been to a bunch of your events over the years. You know, I was a moderator at a couple as well. And, you know, I can't speak for other dog trainers, but I could tell you from my own experience. And, you know, I'm not saying this to blow your own horn, but you guys and what you do and what Dog Trainers Connection, like your roots, what you were just talking about, as a dog trainer and as a person, both of you have positively impacted me, and you have opened my mind over the years.
Thank
you know, and I just want you guys to know that. And I'm not just saying that. I mean, I really respect your core values, and I'm just grateful to be part of it. So I just want you to know that. And I think people watching this should know that about you too. Like, you don't have a hidden agenda. You really are trying to bring trainers together and affect positive change in the dog training community as a whole, not take sides and not pit people against each other, but to bring us together. So thank you.
Thank you for saying that.
Thank you very much.
And Steve, when we did our first one at 96th Street and Broadway, Steve was like all right in there helping us and moderating and giving talks and encouraging me and Joel. And
we were in the bathroom.
In a public bathroom one night.
Talk about coming up from the bottom. I mean,
and
well, it's not quite as bad as it sounds.
Little Bragg, Victoria Stillwell was there, came in to watch Peter Borschel talk about his snoot loop and a few other, you know, celebs that came in, and, you know, we were there right at the beginning. So before a lot of this stuff happened, it's out there today. So in that little 38 seats it held, and it was right in the middle of Broadway, 96th Street in Manhattan, for those of you who are seeing this and live in the, you know, out west or Canada or wherever. And it was originally a public bathroom with one side women, one side men, and it was a little brick building, and it became a community room that you could rent, and that's where we had our meetings. And Helen came all the way from Long Island to it, and David did. And
it just shows you more people should really start their business in a bathroom. That's how you get that. If you want to be successful and be a match for everybody, and, you know, and gather all people, all beliefs, you start in the bathroom.
There you go.
Doesn't matter what business you're in, just do it.
I do love to do my best.
Get off the can and do it.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate that very much. And thank you, Steve, for helping us get started with it. And we're going to have some courses, working on a course with Steve, with Jeff. We have our Q&A with Joyce coming up May 8th, and then 2 dates in June for Steve and Jeff's Q&A. And we want you guys to come on and ask questions and talk and bring your own cases. And we hope to see you guys there.
Sharing. It's all about sharing.
Yeah.
Are we good, boss?
I think
Like a good ending.
I was about to say something to that effect.
Positive note.
Yeah, Joel, before this goes sideways, maybe we should.
Yeah, with the bathroom.
It hasn't yet. But I think we did have a very interesting discussion. And I liked a lot of what was said. It went, again, a little different than I thought it was certainly going to go. I want to wish everybody a happy spring, and thank you all for being here, and thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot now. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
See you.